Welcome back, Life Science learners. Trust that you're feeling refreshed, energized. Let's continue with our lesson and let's get straight into the next part. So the focus is on the hormonal control. We're going to spend some time looking at the different hormones. We're going to understand the concepts of how these hormones coordinate the functions in the body and around the uterus and the events that occur in the ovary, and we're going to link the concept of negative feedback to this process. Have you ever thought about the following? How are the ovary and the uterus able to coordinate their function so that the uterus is ready for implantation of a fertilized egg? An interesting question. I hope that as we get through this lesson, you're able to answer this question. It's very important that we try and understand what are the hormones associated with the menstrual cycle. In our previous lessons, we've looked at the two hormones that are released from the ovary, and those were estrogen as well as progesterone. We also know that the pituitary gland, or the hypophysis, releases two important hormones, and these were FSH and LH. Let's try and understand the roles of these hormones and how they bring about and coordinate the events that occur in both the ovary and the uterus. So let's look at estrogen. It is produced by the ovaries in most female animals. The estrogen controls the reproductive cycle and prepares the body for pregnancy. Progesterone, on the other hand, is a hormone released by the ovaries. It is also necessary for the implantation of the fertilized egg in the uterus and for maintaining pregnancy. So guys, estrogen predominantly is responsible for the changes that occur at puberty. So we see that estrogen prepares the body for what we call the development of the female and her ability to be able to produce an egg. We see that the ovary also is responsible for the production of progesterone. Progesterone plays an important role in maintaining the lining of the endometrium as well as pregnancy. The other two hormones that we mentioned are FSH, which stands for follicle stimulating hormone. And so think about what a follicle is. We're going to look at a diagram in a bit that refers to the primary follicle. And so FSH stimulates and helps to control the menstrual cycle and the growth of the egg in the ovary. The FSH levels in the woman change throughout the menstrual cycle, with the highest level happening just before the egg is released, and we call that just before ovulation. Luteinizing hormone, or LH, is released from the pituitary gland, and this helps to control the menstrual cycle. It also triggers the release of an egg from the ovary. So LH triggers the process of ovulation, and so we would expect that around day 14, the level of LH to be the highest. So around the 14th day, you would expect there to be an increase in the level of LH, and that is linked to the process of ovulation. LH levels quickly rise just before ovulation, and that would be an indication of the process of ovulation. Let's try and link the menstrual cycle and the events in the ovarian cycle. So in this image, I've illustrated the lining of the endometrium, and in this bottom half of the image, I've indicated the events that occur within the endometrium. Let's try and understand what happens during the build-up of the endometrium. So we call that the premenstrual cycle, and this is when the lining of the endometrium is prepared for implantation. We know that the ovary releases a hormone called estrogen, and that estrogen helps to thicken the lining of the endometrium. During the menstrual phase, we know that this is the phase when the level of progesterone radically decreases, and we say that the lining of the endometrium is now shredded away. This is then followed by a postmenstrual cycle, which is when the lining of the endometrium becomes vascularized, and so we see the level of estrogen, which is again increased by the ovary. Okay, let's try and understand this again. So we looked at how the ovary releases the hormones that helps to thicken the lining of the ovary. What is menstruation? It's the breakdown of the endometrium and the release from the body. And you would see that that clearly occurs here, and that again is due to a decrease in the level of progesterone. Guys, in this segment, we focused on the hormones. We're going to go into a little break, and we're going to look at the negative feedback mechanism and how these hormones bring about coordinate function between the various structures and the developments within the uterine lining. Have a little break, freshen up, and we'll see you in a little while.